You may have heard about the man in New York City who quit his job at making $38,000 a year and started walking dogs and makes 120 grand. He's also bought a home and started a college fund for his 1-year-old child. This is Success Saturdays, where we celebrate the entrepreneurial spirit and side hustle success. We've looked into this story, and it's true. Stay to the end of this video if you think this hustle may be for you, because we have some tips for success. This man's story hit the New York Times and the Post. It even went overseas. I read about it on the BBC and then also in the Daily Mail in England. So, what's the story with this guy? Well, Michael Josephs was working in the financial district teaching special needs students in school. He has a dog, Willie, a Labrador mix, and he walks him every day in Prospect Park in New York City. Willie is very well behaved because Michael Josephs has trained him to be good on his walks in the city. What happened was people would notice Willie and Michael Josephs and thought, wow, the dog is terrific and the guy seems so nice. And they started asking him, do you walk other people's dogs? He's, well, I've never thought about that, but yeah, I could. He looked into it and he found he could charge $20 for a 30-minute walk in New York City. That's pretty good money. That's $40 an hour, especially for someone who's making $38,000 a year. So he said yes. Before he knew it, he had dozens of people who wanted him to walk their dogs. So he started working this as a side hustle. He loved teaching and he loved the security of the government job, but he gave up both and health insurance so that he could pursue this side hustle, which he found enjoyable, walking the dogs and working with clients and making really good money. He was able to get insurance through the nonprofit that his wife works for, so he covered that end. He also found that some of his wealthy clients even offered him the use of their vacation homes in upstate New York and Long Island. He said people are just really hospitable when it comes to working with animals. When we talked to Joseph, he said he missed his students a lot and he missed the work of working with special needs kids. But he's also found a new freedom in his side hustle, which has become his occupation. As he said it, I'm amazed at the lifestyle that I can have as a business owner. He has since hired 7 more people as part-time freelancers working for him, walking dogs in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and now he's expanding into the other boroughs of New York City. I love this business, he said. It's always been about the pups for me. He says they give me excitement and loyalty, and there's no downside to that. The seemingly humble job of walking dogs brought Josephs over $120,000 in 2022. It's allowed the former Brooklynite to buy a home in Middletown, New Jersey, where he currently lives, and he bought a new car. It's allowed him to take his family to Disney World and put aside money in a college fund for his child. Being a dog walker may not be for everyone, but thanks to apps that you can put on your phone like Rover and Poway, and even the app that Michael Josephs created himself, people can get the help they need to take care of their dogs when they aren't at home. For others, it's a chance to start a side hustle that might change the way they look at what they do and a paycheck every week. If you're thinking that dog walking might be a good side hustle for you, here's a few pros and cons to think about, okay? The first one is there is flexibility in the sense that you choose your clients and how much you're going to do walking of other people's dogs. However, the job does have some rigid hours in the sense that you're going to commit to particularly early morning hours of walking people's dogs before they go to work. There's no office politics, except that maybe with the dogs. Actually, there is, and sometimes because of the owners sometimes can be a little tricky with their loving animals. It's also good because you enjoyable exercise, which is a very positive thing. Instead of hitting the gym, you go out for a nice walk, and you have the furry friends. If you're like me, you love those animals. You have the independence of setting your own rates and specifying when you are available. It's also a great way to meet new people and to make friends. Now, there's some cons too. The first one is like in any side hustle, there's the marketing. Joseph's was lucky because he's in a dense population area and his clients actually sought him out. But if you're not, then you need to do some marketing. You need to do signs, local social media, perhaps referrals. And of course, we mentioned the app Rover, Rover. The income is variable depending on where you are. In Manhattan, you're making a lot of money. Someplace else, you may not get those kinds of rates. There's also the chance of illness or injury, and that is who's going to walk the dogs if you're ill. And sometimes dogs will get into fights or something and cause injury. In fact, that just happened recently in a big city here in the States. The other thing is you have to walk dogs in all weather and all conditions. So when that big snowstorm hits in New York City, you can bet Joseph's is out there walking those dogs. Another negative basically is picking up the poo. I mean, you have to go along and clean up after the dogs. And you can have difficult clients just like any other business. According to the website PayScale, the average dog walker makes about $13.94 an hour. That's pretty good. This includes both those people who own their own business and those who work for a service, such as Joseph's. If you're really thinking about this, you have to look for the ways to add a little more value, to get a little more income out of this and improve your margins. Here's a couple ways that are suggested by people who are professional dog walkers. Number one, learn how to do some grooming. People who have dogs also want them groomed. There's sometimes even just a bath. You can have a taxi service that takes them to the vet and other kinds of grooming appointments. You can offer obedience training once you learn it yourself. The other thing you can do is offer products as well as services. You might have a line of collars and leashes and those kinds of things that you recommend. You could have shampoo products or connect with a veterinarian in terms of pet care products in general, things like nutrients and supplements. Another one we found really creative is a fellow out in St. Louis who actually takes photographs of the dogs and has custom frames that he puts them in. So look at the dog walking, the pros and cons, and also look at ways you can increase the margins on that. And dog walking might be a good thing for you. I don't know if you're going to make 120 grand like Joseph's did in New York City, but it's possible. Consider that.